Okay. So good morning, Ching 400, Section 2, Engineering Ethics, University of Bahrain College of Engineering, Department of Chemical Engineering, Semester 1, 21, 22. Today is 28th of November. We are supposed to start Chapter 5, which is mainly about safety, risk, and accident-free workplace. Now, since we are going to have, inshallah, our midterm, just to remind you that our midterm is going to be this Tuesday. Make sure that you bring your NSPE Code of Ethics sheets, and it's not allowed to share, and I'm not going to give you a new one. So bring your own. Only in the final exam I'll give you the new one. Otherwise, please bring your sheets of NSPE Code of Ethics. The exam will be 4 to 6 in hall 15. So this is why this Tuesday you are not going to have classes. I'll leave you to study, but make sure to come at least 15 minutes before the exam, so that we can allocate you properly because of due to the distancing your spaces. And also to make sure that you're going to have your papers. This is one thing. The other thing, as we agreed, I'm going to give you all the papers for the midterm and the quizzes, and then you just manage your time. So you'll be having one bunch of papers, which for midterm, I think there are 3 questions. You have choose the right answer. You have a true and false, and you have 2 case studies. This is for the midterm, and then you have 1 sheet for quiz 2 on chapter 2, and another sheet for quiz 3 on chapter 3. You are supposed to finish, I presumed that you're going to finish the midterm in 1 hour. And let's say you have another 10 minutes for 1 quiz, another 10 minutes for another quiz. يعني المفروض ساعة ونص يكفيكم، يعني ما تاخذون وقت أطول، بس أنتوا عندكم ساعتين، معطينكم من 4 ل 6، يعني كأنه فاينل معتبرين لكم. ما أدري معطينكم وايد وقت صراحة أحس. You have 2 hours for the whole thing, so please make sure that you come on time. مثل ما اتفقنا من اليوم بنبتدي البرزنتيشنز مال assignment 3 اللي هو الريال لايف كيس ستدي. يعني أنا في بالي إن بدل ما نبتدي اليوم chapter 5 بعدين نقطع يوم الثلاثاء، ما بتكون عندكم محاضرة، عندكم الميدتيرم، بعدين بشوفكم إن شاء الله الأسبوع الجاي. Who is ready today to start the presentation? نصيحتي لكم كل ما تخلصون، أنا أدري في ناس بيقولون أوكي خلينا نخليه بعدين، كل ما تخلصون البرزنتيشنز اللي مالت الريل لايف كيس ستدي قبل، كل ما أفضل لكم، لأن بتبتدون الحين لما تدشون ديسمبر عندكم submissions وعندكم presentations وعندكم preparation for the final، يكون عندكم very hectic. So from today I'm going to start the presentation. أنا كنت قايلة لكم إن بنادي أسماءكم randomly. Yes.
I will start.
Okay. I told you that I'm going to call your names randomly. بس السكشن اللي قبلكم قالوا ما ذكرتينا، قلت أوكي حبيبي نمشيها معاكم هاي الأسبوع. بس من الأسبوع الجاي again هاي final reminder. I'll be calling randomly. The presentation, you will share your screen, you will open your camera. Yani be prepared that you will open your camera and you share your screen. You have up to 5 minutes, not more than this. Since you have the presentation, everything, then we can do it together.
دكتور
نعم بشرى.
مش كثر على البرزنتيشن.
It will be considered as a part اللي submission بيكون it will be considered as an assignment, والpart presentation will be as a quiz. يعني كأنه صار عليه دبل اسسمنت، بيكون عليه كأنه.
اوكي
اوكي لحظة بس الاوبن السكرين، او خلي الجدول على اساس انه احط مرة واحدة احط درجاتكم مالت ال real life case study. الناس اللي يحسون ان مثلا ما عندهم سكرين او ما عندهم I can share my screen with you اساس انه تسوون presentation. اوكي now الحين اللي بيسوي presentation please raise your hand. بس من المرة الجاية ما في raise your hand. I'll choose randomly. الناس اللي وقت اللي بختار بيقولون لي انه والله مستعدين and so on كل اللي بسويه بيكون في deduction of mark as simple as this. يعني ما عندنا وقت على اساس ان نقول لا واي ولا واي. deduction of mark وخلاص بنواصل. زين احمد وابي بعد احد عقب احمد بعد. يلا احمد share your screen, open your camera and start your presentation. If you would like me to share with you my screen, I can do this also. Yes احمد.
دكتور بس يفتح الملف دقيقة بس.
اوكي من اللي بيكون عقب احمد؟ اوكي احمد go ahead.
أحمد حاط لنا شو اسمه
دكتور بس بطلع لأنه ما بالغلط ذي حطيت.
ايه اشوف. من عقب احمد؟ علي يوسف. اوكي جاهز.
I wasn't prepared.
علي ياسر.
أوكي دكتورة
دكتورة هالمرة ما بيكون في ريدكشن صح؟
لا اليوم ما في ديدكشن، بس من المرة الجاية بلا فيكم في ديدكشن. أحمد يلا go ahead. open your camera أحمد. يلا go ahead أحمد.
دكتورة ما بفتح السلايد شو لأنه كان مسجل فيه صوت يعني.
انزين اوكي يلا go ahead.
السلام عليكم ورحمة الله.
you can mute. ما تقدر تسوي mute you cross it على أساس إنه ما يطلع صوت إذا بتسوي presentation. المفروض يكون فيه اوبشن، هاي الاوبشن يكون فيه المفروض.
دكتور تسمعون؟
يا أنا قاعد أسمعك. لا الصوت قصدك من البرزنتيشن؟ لا ما في صوت.
Assalamu alaikum. Doctor, do you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Yes. Or you go ahead. Go ahead يا أحمد. Yeah.
بسمعكم لأن أنا سويت ميوت.
Okay. Yeah. Go ahead.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Hello, my name is Ahmed, and today I will talk about real-life engineering ethical case study. This is the table of content which the presentation is content of. First of all, we will talk about the fact of this case study. Then we analyze and discuss about related concept of this ethical case study. After that, we will refer to the National Society for Engineering. After that, we will conclude our final recommendation. After that, we will talk about the final recommendation and obligation for this ethical study. First of all, the fact of this case study, it was about not taking permission from the originally developed person that make the Excel sheet for make the calculation of the design of some engineering problem. The supervisor of the student that make interveners, they don't take the permission from the student who is originally developed the Excel sheet to make his calculation easier. They don't take his permission to use it. The student after he assigned a task to the supervisor, his supervisor of the interveners, they shocked that the engineer who is the supervisor of the student on the engineering company, it is using his Excel sheet that the student make it originally. This is a brief fact of our case study. We will analyze this case study here, inshallah. Then we will talk about the National Society of the Engineering Code of Ethics. First of all, what as we see or as we said previously, the engineer B, who is the supervisor of the student who is make interference so that they can congratulation from the university, because the interference is the main subject or core subject the student has to make it so that they can congratulate from the university. They take the Excel sheet who the students make it so that they can save time, because the design of engineering problem, it's almost the same, only with a different numbers. This is our case study, and refer to the National Society Code of Ethics. The first code it is Roman 39, which and the second one is Roman 39A, also Roman 39B, and Roman 39C, and also Roman 39D. The Roman 39 is to state engineers should give credit for engineering work to those to whom credit is due, and will recognize the proprietary interest of others. Also, the Roman 39A, which is the same, mostly the same obligation, engineers shall, whenever possible, name the person or persons who may be individually responsible for design, invention, writing, or other accomplishment. Also, the other three, which talk on the same circle, which is the engineers design, data, record, and notes referring exclusively to an someone work are someone property. So that you must include his name or his name on this in his work. After that, we will go to the conclusion of this case study, and we conclude that what the engineer do in this case study, it is unethical, because they must take permission from students who is originally developed this Excel sheet. And we know that the student, it will not will not be a confusion between them, because this Excel sheet, they will give them the permission directly. So from that, the engineer shall use or take the permission, or at least make a deal with the student for this Excel sheet, because the Excel sheet is it saves the time, but it needs time to develop it. So from that, we conclude that what the engineer be, it's not ethical, unethical at all. Thank you for your listening, and Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmah wal barakah. Okay, thank you very much, Ahmed. Well done.
Okay.
That's all what we need to make sure that you are aware of what you are presenting, and you can do it in your own words. This is the thing. Now, maybe one question for you, Ahmed, in here. When you first, يعني تقريبا هاي السؤال بيكون حقكم كلكم. هاي الكيس, from where you got it, and from where all the details?
Actually, it's from my friend on the summer semester, the last summer semester. It go to the intervenes تدريب وصلت له يعني المشكلة.
Oh, okay. So you heard it from him.
Yeah, but after they know, the engineer B was sorry about what he do, and talk with the students, and they تراضوا يعني.
Okay, so the action was taken. Okay, excellent. Thank you very much, Ahmed. Well done. افتكيت أحمد. خلاص.
مساعدة دكتورة، ما ادري حاط لي ليت انه شغال الكاميرا وانا مطفيها، ما ادري طالع عندكم ولا لا؟
لا ما طالع عندنا، لا.
اوكي، ثانك يو دكتور.
يلا من الحين بشرى موجودة، هديل، هدى، مريم، نريمان، نواف.
I don't mind going next.
Go ahead, Mariam.
Okay, I'll share my screen then.
Sure.
Can you see my screen?
Yes, absolutely.
I'll share my camera as well. Just a second. All right. Hello, everyone.
Excellent. Hello. Hi. Nice to meet you.
Nice to see you too.
Mm.
All right, let's start our presentation. There we go. Just a second. All right. Good afternoon. Actually, good morning, everyone. Today we'll be looking at assignment 3, which is a real-life ethical engineering case study. My name is Mariam Al-Najm, and this is the course Ching 400. First, we'll be looking at the case study approach. Now, every time we have a case study, we go through 3 things. We look at the facts, we validate the facts and analyze through NSPE codes, and finally, we reach our recommendations and our final conclusions. Now, let's look at our case study. Before looking into it and reading it through with you guys, I'd like to say that I found this case study from a mentor of mine who's also a family friend. And for the sake of privacy, I'll not be disclosing any names or even company names. All right, let's look at our case study. We have engineer A and engineer B, and they both work as computer engineers at a telecommunication company. Their job requires them to maintain the company's servers and find innovative solutions to update the current system. One day, the project manager requests that both engineer A and engineer B provide separate proposals for a potential upcoming project. These proposals are to be revised by the project manager and other people from the committee. Engineer B, has a personal relationship with the project manager. So here is where we want to look deeper. Here is where we want to focus. Engineer B has a personal relationship with the project manager. Prior to the bidding, which is what happens with the committee, the project manager talked about the flaws and the premise of engineer A's proposal through casual conversation. This gave engineer B the ability to edit their proposal accordingly and get chosen for the bidding. Now, in order to digest the facts more easily, I have provided a block flow diagram in front of you with a summary of the events that we will assess and analyze deeper in the upcoming slides. So again, engineer A and engineer B work together under a project manager. They should both separately provide a project proposal. Engineer B has a close relationship with the project manager. The project manager shares information to engineer B about engineer A's proposal. Engineer B alters their proposal accordingly, and engineer B wins the bidding because of this.
Excellent.
So, how do we approach any case study? The first thing we look at is the ethical questions. And through this case, I have derived 2 questions that we can look at, and maybe some questions might arise from your side. So the first 2 I'm seeing is, was it ethical for the project manager to reveal information to engineer B? And number 2, did engineer B follow ethical practices in this case? So keep these 2 questions in mind, and we'll answer them shortly after this. So the fact breakdown. It is evident that in our case, we are faced with 3 ethical problems that I'll be discussing, and maybe some might arise from your side. The first one we'll be looking at is the conflict of interest and how it led to the leakage of confidential information. And lastly, we'll be looking at the lackness of truthfulness and integrity within our case. So, conflict of interest. Here on the slide, you can see that I have validated it with an NSPE code from Roman 2 4A. What is the conflict of interest in our case? Well, the conflict of interest in our case lies between the relationship between engineer B and the project manager. There is nothing legally binding that says engineer B and the project manager cannot be friends or have a personal relationship. However, where the ethical issue arose is when the crossing of barriers or crossing of lines where confidential information regarding workspace was leaked. Engineer B and the project manager, through casual information, maybe accidentally or on purpose, because of their close relationship, the project manager crossed the boundary between employer and employee and therefore gave engineer B an upper hand in knowing what was going on inside of the committee and what was happening behind the scenes regarding another colleague. Now, the conflict of interest, why I say it's the main problem, because it has been the source, you can say that it has been the source for the other upcoming ethical problems. The second one, being the leakage of confidential information. Because of this relationship, as I've already stated before, because of this personal relationship, through accidental conversation or even on purpose, there was some leak that gave Engineer B the upper hand, which is definitely unethical because it was unfair to Engineer A. They should have both been on the same playing field. However, because Engineer B got this extra information, he was able to surpass Engineer A's work, which was definitely an unethical act. Lastly, we have truthfulness and integrity. The last part of my case, I've mentioned that Engineer B used the confidential information, and that was the problem. He did not just, listen to it and let it go. However, he implemented the problems and flaws seen in Engineer A's proposal and kept it in his proposal as well. Excuse me. And implemented it into his proposal. And this is where the problem with truthfulness and integrity comes to play. Engineer B took credits where credit was not due and did not even have a conversation with Engineer A clarifying that this was an issue or clarifying that this is what has happened, and went with it and therefore won the bidding. Lastly, now we've looked at the 3 problems. We've looked at the NSPE codes related to them. They are placed on the slide for each one. And we've discussed why each one is evident in our case. Lastly, we'll be looking at the final conclusions, answering our ethical questions, and we'll be looking at the recommendations of what should have happened. In conclusion, I could say that the project manager and Engineer B have committed unethical acts. Already discussed this. There is an obvious conflict of interest present between the project manager and Engineer B. Their personal relationship has breached an unethical encounter as the project manager leaked confidential information regarding Engineer A, who is working on the same project. The information shared with Engineer B has thus influenced his proposal and allowed him to advance beyond Engineer A. So now, this is our conclusion. We know that both the manager and Engineer B have committed unethical acts. So how do we move on from this? How do we fix this later on? We look at the recommendations. So first, the project manager from the beginning should have removed himself from the voting committee because of the personal relationship he has with Engineer B. He should not have been allowed to be part of the bidding for the proposals because he knows that there is a relationship. There could have been a favoritism, even though it could be subconscious. There will be some kind of favoritism or bias towards his friend, his personal friend. Secondly, the second recommendation I have here is that the project manager and Engineer B should remain professional within the premise of work. They should not allow the relationship to interfere with their judgments, which happened in this case. So their personal relationship should be limited to outside of work and not just work talk. Lastly, Engineer B should address the situation with Engineer A and not alter his proposal based on the information received, because this way he was taking credit where credit was not due. And therefore, that was unfair to Engineer A. Thank you for listening. We have reached the end.
Excellent, excellent, Mariam. Really excellent.
If you have any questions, feel free to ask.
أكا علي يوسف قاعد يصفق لك بعدك.
Thank you.
Well, excellent. This is the idea of this assignment, to be honest, that you will be able to discuss your case study in real life. That's how you are going to do it. You have to briefly tell all the issues and all the concept and all the details of your case study without, taking into consideration that you are taking one side or another, but simply are doing it professionally, showing, the other side, showing your committee or even the person who's involved in that case study, that I'm doing it for the sake of looking at the ethical side of you, no personal, nothing personal, so the recommendation is simply telling you, okay, what needs to be done, what is the ethical and what's the obligation, and so on. Excellent. I just normally here I ask from where you got the case study and that you did already. You did that, Other than this, I don't have any question. Thank you very much, Maryam. Well done.
You.
Well done.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
دكتور
Yes, Ahmed.
دكتور دامنا احنا اول ناس شلون يعني كان الاداء؟
والله very good, to be honest, very good. يعني yours is very good. Maryam is excellent. I can say that at least أول شيء بيكون عندكم خلينا نقول كأنه bonus. You will have the full mark لأن first you got the gut to start. هاي أول شيء يعني هاي credit لكم. هاي أول شيء. اثنين, the way you presented, I'm not here to judge your English, how much good you are or no. Do you have the ability to tell me what happened in a simple English? You are engineering, you are not a literature or a novelist here. With a simple English, إذا كنت في committee, زين. الكوميتي ممكن يكون معك واحد تشاينيزي، واحد ما يعرف إنجليزي خير شر، واحد من دول آسيوية، واحد عربي، واحد and so on. هل يستطيعون إن بلانجوج موحد بينهم ونورمال يكون إنجليش، إنه بحيث إن يوصلون الفكرة بدون ما إنه يعني يظلمون أحد، بدون ما يأخذون side. This is the idea of this. You did your search, you did your task, you found your case study. That was a part. The part الثاني now, okay, can I tell the others what I have found? Can I convince them that what happened, it was ethical or unethical, and what kind of action need to be done? Recommendation مثل ما قلنا, there is no correct answer في ethical case studies. في النهاية أنتوا تعطون recommendation، بعدين المانجرز ممكن يعطي فرصة ثانية أو ياخذ harsh action، ومثلا يكون في kind of penalties أو يكون في warning أو يكون حتى expelling from the job. I don't know. This what I can find is excellent, to be honest. Excellent.
Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Who's next? كل ما تخلصون كل ما أحسن لكم. اخذوا نصيحتي، خلصوا بسرعة، لأن في النهاية كلكم لازم تسوونه، واللي بيخلي روحه أنه هو في النهاية وما يخلص معناته أنه شو اسمه بيكون في deduction of the 5% اللي هو مالت البرزنتيشن. بس from next Sunday randomly واللي أختار اسمه ما يقول مو مستعد لأي سبب ما، خلاص he got the chance، يعني ما بعد مرة ثانية بنادي، خلاص finish the chances over. ما أدري في أحد ثاني يبي يقدم بعد اليوم؟
I don't know, Doctor, if you are hearing me. Can you listen?
Nariman, yes. Yes, Nariman.
Because I'm out of my home, so I don't have my AirPods. So I don't know if you are hearing me, so I can present now. If you are listening me right now.
Okay, I can share my screen and I'll show your. Can you see my screen?
Yes, sure, please.
Okay, I'll share my screen with you.
Okay, thank you.
Nariman into 2018 2370.
Yes. First of all, I would like to present myself. My name is Narima Najat. I'm a chemical engineering student as you.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm from section 2 and I'd like to share my case study. It's from one from our, my family, member from my family, my uncle as well. So basically there was an IT engineer. He was working in some in a big company, and the manager asked him to hack another system for another company, so he can take the information for their project, so he can go through the like a composition with them, and they can take the they can win it easily because they know the others' plans and the others' experiments and like this. So firstly, the IT engineer was reviewed, and he was talking that it's unethical and I can't do that. But the engineer, the manager, said that he will fire him. So he pressured to agree with what the manager wants. And after a period of time, another IT engineer from the other company that they already hacked after they already won, the engineer knows that there was a very a hacking done in their system, and there was an information, very important information, took from the system. So he raised the case and got some. He raised the case and they were. He was in the right case because their company was like stolen. They already stole them. Now the engineer and the manager are involved in the case. So who is the unethical, and who done unethical work, and who's done the ethical work? Because we know that engineer is forced to do that, but in some case, in some in the same way, he was have the ability to say no, even if he will fire. So now we will say the code of ethics, and we will check if he does it, if he did it wrongly, or it's about like he pressurized to do this and he forced to do this because it was out of his hand. So firstly, I choose Roman 2, number 5, which is engineers shall avoid deceptive acts. So the engineer or IT engineer, our IT engineer, engineer A, must say no, even if it is, he will fire from his job, even if he will lose her work, but he didn't do detective acts, and he can't he can't got this from the others, and he can't steal this information from the others and did like this. He was very wrongly in this case. The second code that I choose was Doctor, can you please go other? The next slide, please. Was Roman 3, number 1, part E, which engineers shall not promote their own interest at the expense of the dignity and integrity of the profession. So he was forced to do this because he was about to fire from his job, but he can't take this promote, and he can't raise his interest above the professional interest and the professional ethics, because we know that engineers shall take the ethics and shall be principles, because the principles of engineering, he have to be he have to be respecting this code and respecting his work, and he can't just take this job like he can't agree with what said to him because it was wrongly, and he was correct in the firstly he was okay, I will not take it. He was right, but he then changed his mind because he was forced to do this, but still he had the ability to say no. He had the ability to say, I will talk with others, I will tell the owner of the company. He can't just say, okay, I will do it because I'm afraid to fire from my job. Now, the third code of ethics was from Roman 3, number 8, part B, which is engineers shall not use association with a non-engineer, a corporation, or partnership as a cloak for unethical acts. In this case, the engineer take his company as a cloak. He take it as he was like, I didn't want to do this, but I forced to do. But in the same way, we know that he can say no. He can go to other يعني bigger than the engineer, than the manager. He can go to the owner. He can go to say no loudly for the public. So the manager will not do anything for him. Actually, nowadays we know that the social media have a very have a very important effect in our lives. So he can say it from social media. He can tell his problem to the others, so they will help him. And also the others, like the owner, will help him, and the country as well will help him from the law. So he has a lot of things to do, but he take our company as a cloak. He take it as an ethical act. He didn't do the correct thing. We know that he was forced, but he can do other things than he accepted this work. Well, in conclusion, from my opinion and from the code of ethics that I already explained before, that engineer A had an ethical act because he have to say no loudly. He has to take the ability to go and tell the others, tell the owner. He can just stand on his no that he said firstly. And the other company have this ability to raise his case, and also manager also was wrong, but in our case we are judging the engineer. So engineer had an ethical work, as I said, and I hope that I hope that you are understood my case study, and thank you for listening.
Thank you very much نريمان. Excellent. والله أحسن واحد علي يوسف، كله يصفق لكم أوكي. أوكي لأن هو يعرض، لو سمحتوا صفقوا له بعد ها.
إن شاء الله.
Thank you very much. I don't have any question. مثل ما قلت لكم, the objective is to make you able to present the case because this is what you are going to do in real life. That's it for today. But again, midterm will be this Tuesday. I'm repeating again, and make sure to come for the exam 15 minutes before 4 o'clock. It will be so at least 3:45. We should be there. From next week, the presentation is a must. No excuses. Everybody should be able to share their screen and open their camera. المفروض ان انا خذيت الاتندنس بس to make sure ان اتاكد ان المفروض ان خذيتهم كلهم. علي يوسف اوكي، آلاء محد، احمد محمد ما كان موجود، نواف اوكي.
دكتورة
نعم.
انا عقب 3 دقائق بس دشيت.
من؟
احمد محمد.
محمد اوكي انزين. نواف موجود، آيات مو موجودة، ابراهيم ما كان موجود، علي أحمد بعد ما شفت اسمه، شموس أوكي، ناريمان أوكي، هديل أوكي، أحمد محمود أوكي، فاطمة عبد الغني لا مو موجودة، بشرى أوكي، مريم ناجم أوكي، مريم قحطاني أوكي، علي ياسر أوكي، نرمين أوكي، سعاد وهدى أوكي. Okay.
Dictora, I have a question.
Yes, go ahead.
Would we be able to present for bonus in the next lecture?
What do you mean?
And would we have some bonus for presenting in next lecture, or it's just?
Why do you have to have a bonus? It's a part of assessment.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
So
Okay.
it's a must, يعني.
Okay. It's a must. Yes, it's a must. Okay. Thank you very much. Have a nice day. Bye-bye.